the normal use of masks by surgeons was meant to protect the patient, protect the one who was operated from the bodily fluids coming from the surgeons. Nothing else. For sure, it doesn't have any influence on you spreading or being protected from other one's viruses. That's one thing. Not only that masks are not efficient, and we know now that this virus is airborne. In fact, all coronaviruses, which make generally the normal flu, are airborne. So they do not protect you, they do not protect the others. That's simply science. And then, what we know, if we study a little bit beyond what the official narrative is saying to us, we can find out that the masks actually are harming us. I've got a device that can, please allow me to speak. If you want to speak, you come here and use the microphone. Good luck. So, can you let us speak? There are devices that can measure the amount of carbon dioxide you have next to your mouth, so how much carbon dioxide, which is in fact a poisonous gas, we have to exhale it in order to survive, right? And most of these videos proving that once you have a mask, any kind of mask, your CO2 levels go far above the threshold of, safety, the normal safety limits, are deleted from all platforms. I tell you why. I have such a device myself, and I tried it. So I have a microscope also, so I tried to prove for myself what is good or not. So you have the oxygen level decreasing. You have the CO2 increased, in that area. Moreover, a famous neurosurgeon, Russell Blaylock, exposed the fact that once you keep a mask above your nose and mouth, the viruses that you should normally expel, because I hope all of us know that we are full of viruses. Much of what our body consists of is viruses. It's called viral, and there are billions and billions of viruses in our body. It's so ridiculous to speak about that virus. So these viruses that we try to expel every time we are sneezing and coughing are kept somehow there. I don't want to say that they don't go out, but much of them, with your body fluids, stay in your system. And Russell Blaylock tells us that the trajectory of these viruses is towards, through the olfactory paths towards the brain. So your brain, in fact, is infected by the very viruses you want to protect yourself from. Even more, we have science that has been rejected, of course, from PubMed and other platforms, that shows that you can get gum disease if you wear these things too much. Right, I worked in a care home during all this lockdown, and I want to tell you, when it was at peak, we were no masks, there were no masks. So, who got ill, who died? In my unit, there were 2 people that were diagnosed at the end of May, so there was absolutely no testing. During the peak of the pandemic, there were no masks. And guess what? There were 2 residents that tested positive but asymptomatics. You tell me now, can it be something more Kafkian than this? You have to be tested to find out that you are sick. And guess what? Another thing, nobody else around you gets sick either. That's what we are coping with. Right, so in matters of testing, what do you say about the fact, she's there. What do you say about the fact that even Jason Leach, who now deals with the national corona operation, said that the tests are a bit rubbish because they detect proteins pertaining to the virus that you may have had months ago. So even they doubt this thing. But this, of course, doesn't stop them to keep testing and testing and testing. It has been mentioned that the inventor of this procedure, the PCR test, Gary Mullen, who was a Nobel Prize winner, affirmed that this is not to be used for diagnosis because this test cannot identify the viruses. It cannot establish that you have the right amount to be infected with the virus. It just detects parts of it. More and more things could be added here in matters of science. In fact, it seems that the way you react to these infections depends very much on the degree of toxicity your inner environment is. In other words, if you are already sick, if you have underlying conditions, if you are under the influence of wireless radiation or whatever, 5G, of course you will be much sicker because your immune system is depleted. I want to ask you people, do you think medicine can really cure you? Or is it your body, your God-given immune system that works and is helped by medicine or by sun or by whatever is good? It is us, it is our bodies that are healing. Nobody can heal us if the body is not strong enough to continue. So the whole idea that we should not search into anything, that we should not be free to learn and discern and make up our own minds is in fact tyranny, is utter tyranny. I say about this all the time, I lived under a communist dictatorship, and I can tell you there can be millions of people in China. There have been almost 1 billion people living under dictatorship. When you have such a regime, everything is captured. Every institution, every system, every organ of the society. You see, it is as if you are sick with a metastatic cancer. There is no truth left. In fact, in the last stages of a dictatorship, everybody knows that what they are saying from start to finish is a lie. But so what? Because they have all the means, they have the power of the arm, they can coerce everybody to obey. So we can understand why these people, because it has been said that all the scientists are on this side, you know, what the governments are saying. No, they're not on this side, but they are afraid because everything is at stake for them. It's as simple as that. And, you know, also about who can we trust? Yeah, we can trust the few ones who risk everything for the truth. What interest do they have? Anybody's going to build them a monument when they will be deprived of their jobs and of their livelihoods and every human right, when they will eventually be taken to a quarantine camp because they are infected. Have you really studied the Coronavirus 2020 Act? Have you seen that a couple of people, a public health officer or an immigrant officer or even a constable, under suspicion that you are infected, can really turn your life around, can decide if you must be taken from your house and tested for maybe 48 hours and then put into quarantine somewhere where they decide that's not staying at home, that's not self-isolating. You will be kept somewhere for 2 weeks, time in which you may be tested every day, and then you will be retested, and this goes on and on like 3 times, and even a Scottish minister can decide, even though your test is positive, that you should go on staying there because you are not safe. I mean, come on people, you will entrust your lives and the lives of your children in these people's hands. It's not even the government. Anybody can decide. Anybody who is unwanted, anybody who is a dissident can be a victim of this system. And I tell you because I had this realization, when you deal with a tyranny, it's not the crime that matters, it's dissent that matters. So what we need now is first and foremost common sense. It's nothing else. Common sense. Look what we have to lose if this thing is continuing. In America, what they are doing as a result non-stop contact tracing is to really destroy the food chain. You can shut down not only every businesses, the high street, we can live without this. You can shut down the food plants. You can shut down farms. Where will you get your food? More than half of this nation and the UK in general comes from the abroad. What will you do when you will go in a shop and the shelves will be empty? And who will be to blame? Yeah, the virus, the pandemic. By the way, Sweden, maybe many of you know, Sweden had no lockdown. We had more victims than Sweden, though we had lockdown. And now there's almost no infections in Scotland. So they managed indeed to create this herd immunity in the population because they were exposed to this. And guess what? They had a huge, I mean not a huge, but a respectable increase, like 26 billion in GDP during this period. What happened to us? We are collapsing. So this is the difference between a nation who doesn't want to obey to these imposed measures. We know who gives them to us. We know because he's a good friend of Boris Johnson and Nicola Sturgeon. We've seen picture of him. Master Bill Gates. He is the one who dictates. And he's not speaking for himself also. He's speaking for the ones who have all the money, the ones who print the money. So, I don't know what else I wanted to say. I wanted to say so much. The idea is that we have to resist. When Julian Assange was caught, was taken from the embassy, his last words were, "Britain, you must resist." He knew what we were saying. So I think this is the time for us to use everything we have, everything what God has given us, the love for our fellow men, our conscience, our intellect, to find out the truth and to spread the truth. Of course, under a big psyop that we are seeing here, when you get non-stop propaganda on TV, of course people will believe this in the end. This is what we want to believe. We want to believe that there's still hope, things will go back to normal, things are not so bad, the government is on our side. But guess what? Let's take another government. Recently, the president of Belarus publicly acknowledged that he's been offered 980 million euros. That's almost 1 billion in order to do what? To enforce harsh lockdowns, to create a police state, to make people wear masks, and to collapse the economy. He's not the only one who opposed them. So there are good people everywhere, from homeless to president. Bless your hearts. Let's stand up for the truth.
Give that lady a big round of applause. They're absolutely fantastic. That's what we're all about here in Glasgow today. We're spreading a little bit of truth. We want to know your opinions on what's going on in this society that